Hi, HRN listeners. We're celebrating our 15th anniversary, and we have a really fun campaign and an ask for you. This 15th anniversary tour is aiming to bring you closer to unique food and music experiences in some of the most exciting cities in America. All the while, we're raising funds to support our work empowering the next generation of food system storytellers through our fellowship programs. Here's how it works. Donate to HRN and be entered into a raffle in the city of your choice to win a dinner for two at a noteworthy restaurant and tickets for two to a concert at a prominent local venue. We have incredible partners in New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Nashville, Las Vegas, Charleston, Asheville, and Ardmore, Pennsylvania, who have donated a meal for two and two tickets to a concert of the winner's choice. And all donations help fund our fellowship programs, where we're helping to build essential workforce readiness skills and food system storytelling skills. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15. Thank you.
Today's program is brought to you by Whole Foods Market. For more information, visit WholeFoodsMarket.com.
I'm Laura Stanley, host of Inside School Food. You are listening to Heritage Radio Network, broadcasting live from Bushwick, Brooklyn. If you like this program, visit heritageradionetwork.org for thousands more.
This is Cynthia Cherish Malloran, Reverend DJ Cherish the Love, and you are listening to Primary Food on Heritage Radio Network. And before I forget, let me tell you how to reach out to me and get my attention on social media, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at DJ Cherish the Love. That's spelled L-U-V, and hashtag using Primary Food, Heritage_Radio, and hashtag RevLove. So the name of the show is Primary Food, and let me explain to our beautiful listeners who come back and keep coming back, and thank you to people who have told me they're subscribing now. Very cool. Thank you. Downloading into your iPods. I got a message about that. So great. Primary food. So the food that we eat, like the food here at Roberta's and food that you're going to cook tonight at home, we consider that to be secondary food. Primary food is everything else in life that nourishes us before we sit down to eat. So that is your relationships, your job, your spirituality, your musicality, your creativity. So today we're going to focus on music, and I have some very cool musical guests here. I have guests from Rock and Roll Playhouse, Paolo Perez.
Yep, you got it.
And Devlin Goldberg.
Hi.
And, of course, Trey.
So, yo.
Trey's back.
Still Trey.
And there's an instrument in the corner, too.
Yes, there is.
There's an ukulele. So we're going to talk about, first let's talk about this awesome program, Rock and Roll Playhouse, right?
Yeah.
So this is, these guys are here because I saw them a few Sundays ago. Rock and Roll Playhouse is a really cool program that, does it run only out of Brooklyn Bowl or?
Brooklyn Bowl and Garcia's at the Capitol Theater in Port Chester.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
And it's Sundays, or at least the one in Brooklyn Bowl?
Sundays at Brooklyn Bowl, Saturdays at Garcia's.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The one I saw at Brooklyn Bowl was so sweet. 11 o'clock in the morning, I think it was.
Yes.
And the crowd was kids ages 7 and under?
Yeah.
Rocking out to music.
That's right.
Learning, improvising. I saw Kid Lucky there. We had Kid Lucky a few episodes back when we were freestyling here. It was amazing.
Gotta love Kid Lucky.
It was so good.
Gotta love Kid.
These kids were learning how to move their bodies to music as Devlin was improvising, as Paolo was playing on the keys. It was just like a perfect mesh of, music is so, we all know it's so nourishing. Mm-hmm. It's a food for the ears that just like gets into every cell of your body. You can't deny it. It's like it just changes you. I had come across an article recently about a new study suggesting that regular informal music making with very young children may even have benefits above and beyond those of reading.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Yeah. Did you happen to see that on our website?
I might have. I might have read that there.
That is really great. We've always wanted to target the young ages because there are already many music programs for older kids, School of Rock, that have the same philosophy. Because our philosophy is that all music is great for kids. It doesn't have to be kid music. And especially is a plus when it's cool hip-hop like we did with Kid Lucky, or we just did a David Bowie show.
Oh, wow.
And so
with kids.
and then their parents are really into it. And it's at Brooklyn Bowl. The parents can have a drink. The family can eat. So it's like all included, right? And so creating an experience for the kids, because when it's not, that article, what's interesting is it's not just about the kids making music. It's really about the social bonds that parents make with their kids. And so in that bonding with your family through music, it's not just about the brain, but it's social emotional, it's cognitive, it's like such a broad umbrella for all of those things that are so important for little kids when they're growing, because it's those first 7 years of your life that they say are the most important developmentally. So, and
what you described is pure primary food,
right?
All of those relationships, all of that nourishment. It's like the question I like to ask people is, well, let's go through this 2-part question. So, Paolo, name something this week that you ate, something really good that you ate.
Ooh, a salted pretzel, one of those soft, honey-baked soft pretzels.
The way he said that, it's like so sexy salted
I know,
pretzel.
he really did.
It's like he made love to that pretzel.
It was like it had butter
Devlin,
on it too.
Something delicious that you ate this week?
I just this morning had the most bomb egg sandwich. I'm just a real fan of egg sandwiches.
You said that 2 weeks ago.
I said a bacon, egg, and cheese from the deli. Okay, just to be clear.
That's what that's such a go-to for me on a croissant, on a ciabatta. But this one just had the right combination of aioli and avocado.
Yeah.
And just
you hear how she's talking about it? It's like,
I was just talking about the deli.
You remember a standout, egg sandwich? Like
you really
usually
do.
They're pretty consistent.
Exactly.
And Trey,
I just had some good falafel from across the street from Cynthia's house.
That's right. That's right.
Was good. I couldn't remember what it was called. I was like, "It's the fried chickpea thing,"
The fried chickpea. He was asking, "What are those chickpea ball things called again?"
I couldn't get the word. I
things?
could not get the word.
Something really good I had this week. I love Black Seed Bagel, which opened up a couple of blocks from me. It's just bagel stores like that should not open near me. It's just too much bread in my life, but so good.
Yeah.
So the way we think about food, that feeling. But now here's the part 2. What did you do this week to nourish yourself?
Oh, if I had to choose just one.
Okay, well, that's good for you. Yeah, like lots of things.
I sat in my electronic foot massage.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
It's really great.
That's great.
Yeah.
You could choose another. It looked like you had another.
One?
Yeah.
No, I'm just the obvious playing the keyboard, playing piano. That nourishes me pretty well on a consistent basis.
Music always. Devlin?
So my favorite nourishing thing I actually haven't gotten to this week because I'm moving, so it's been one of those weeks, but I really love to I call them mystical baths, where I light candles and incense, and I put on just like really meditative music, and I also have like these bath balls and scents, and I just make it really sensual. And I usually sing a lot. I'll sing or I'll chant, I'll meditate, I'll just lie in the bath, and it's like I get the most clarity. It's where I have all my like big ideas and everything
super
kind of comes
nourishing
together. Exactly.
It's just like you just feel yourself like filling up, right?
Yes,
So,
Trey.
I went to a show, a concert. It was a brass band at the Blue Note, and I've forgotten how much I love like horns, like all together, and so that was really cool. And Pharoah Monch came out.
Oh,
and,
that's very
did
cool.
some songs, and so that was super dope, and it felt great. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Me, I danced wildly to Shaka Khan. There's video of it on my website. I posted it. Cool. Like in the evening, it got like 300 views. I was like, who's watching me dance to I was like, really? Seriously? But notice how most of the time when I ask this question, the nourishing answer, there's so much music in that answer. So, music is some kind of food.
Oh, yes.
So let's talk about music's role in our lives. So you are a keyboardist.
Yes, I'm a keyboardist. I work primarily in musical theater.
Okay.
And I do a lot of community theater and work with people who haven't necessarily had a lot of experience as, a musician or a singer or whatever that may mean. And I love new musicians, whatever age they are, because it's so innate. And one of my favorite memories involving music was shortly after I moved here to New York City, about 3 years ago. I was hanging out at this little park along the East River, and I had my ukulele with me. And I was just playing along. I had a friend of mine who was visiting from Boston. And this mother walks by with her very, very young child and could barely walk. And the child was just... you could tell it was interested in the fact that I was playing this big, red little ukulele and that there was music and sound coming out of it. You could tell this child had not heard those sounds really before, probably. So she walks up and I kind of present the ukulele to her. And I kind of display to her. I say, hey, come on, strum it like this. And I show her how to strum it. And she very timidly places her hand on the ukulele strings.
Oh.
And one of her fingers starts to bring down one of the strings, and the tension starts to pull. And you can see this look on her face where the curiosity then turns into, like, she's so frightened. She has no idea what's going to happen when she releases that string, but she can feel the tension pulling against it, and she's really nervous, and she's about to cry. And then all of a sudden her mother kind of eases her a little bit further, and the string now plucks. And the second that note rang out, her face just lit up, and she started smiling, and she was overcome with the sensation. You could tell without any words that she was like, oh my gosh, did I make that sound? Like, I have that power. It was probably one of the first moments of her, like, self-actualization. So it's incredible how truly innate, no matter what the age is, how music is.
That's amazing because, do kids get that feeling from hitting the button on a remote control for a TV? Oh, I changed the channel.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
Not really. So it's so great to expose children to instruments. And now tell me about this ukulele that you have here.
I've got this little ukulele, and it's really I bought it maybe 4 years ago for $40. I never knew how to play the ukulele, or I'm a keyboard player. I always wanted to know how to play the guitar. I was always jealous of, guys sitting around a campfire, like, serenading everybody. And I would sit there frustrated in the corner, like, oh, well, if I had a piano, I could sing to everyone, too. But I learned how to play the ukulele because it's way easier to learn. It doesn't put calluses on my fingers. It's really mobile.
It's really mobile.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's very mobile.
So if you play something for us now, you'll be nourishing us.
Oh.
Feed us a little something.
Yeah, I could feed you guys a little something.
Go for it.
Let me see how it sounded. Cool. I'm trying to remember how this one begins. 1, 2, 3, 4. It may be true that talking isn't doing. It is a kind of good deed to say well. And yet, words are not deeds. Words, mere words. No magic from the heart. Oh, words without thoughts, never to heaven go. Oh, who could refrain that had a heart to love? And in that heart, courage to make their love known. As a little taste.
That was like an appetizer. I love it. That was so sweet.
It's delightful.
It's delightful. I'm tearing up. I can't stand it. Now, that's a song you wrote?
I wrote the music to it, but that's actually a bunch of different words from Shakespeare.
Oh, you're a deep man.
Hardly.
You're a shallow man. No, that's very cool. Now you just learned that. Did you just feel like, now I've always felt this because I learned piano growing up. When we learn piano, we can pick up instruments pretty easily, right? You play piano as well, Devlin?
It was my first instrument
Same
as well.
here.
Yeah.
Trey also.
Yeah, a little
So
bit.
I think like when we learn piano, it's like a little bit easier to just pick up and be like, let me just find the scale here. Now I'm good, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you have a really strong foundation in most instruments, I mean, ukulele is just so translatable. If anything, it helped me as a songwriter because it's so simple just to create different chord progressions and then to hear it and experiment. I totally taught myself how to do it, and I've never done that with any other instrument. Any other instrument, I would need someone's help to learn.
That's so wonderful. And now I feel so like bubbly. I feel like I just had, I feel so much better than if I were to be sitting and eating like a bag of chips. Hands down. For sure.
Yeah.
So that's great. I'm so glad you played that. Now, Devlin,
Yes.
you are a multidisciplinary musician.
Yeah, that's
You were
a good way to put
percussion
it.
and you were playing all sorts of things
All
and
sorts of things.
managing little kids who were trying to grab at your instruments that I noticed. So I was like, I'm impressed.
So I started as a singer. That was my first, well, besides piano, was my first instrument that I studied as a child. But then once I really realized how much I loved music, it was through singing. And then I started playing hand drums also when I was a teenager, like shortly after that. But then I stopped drumming. I picked the bass for a little while. I loved
Okay.
the bass. My dad plays guitar, and I tried to learn from him, but it never worked. Or I guess I should say he tried to teach me, but there was something about like the father-daughter, teacher-student relationship. So I got a little turned off to the guitar, unfortunately, because now guitar is my favorite go-to instrument, although I didn't play it at that show that you saw because now I've been playing the drums more. But again, because it's so portable, you can take it anywhere. You can play so many ranges of styles, and with kids, they love it. I've had similar experiences, especially the little ones. Usually what I'll do is I'll play the chords, because chords are quite difficult actually to learn if you have small hands. But then I'll just strum for them. I'll strum their hands, and they'll take their hand
teamwork.
and yeah, exactly. And they're like, "Whoa, I'm playing a song," because I'm playing the chords, but they think that they're playing an actual song.
They're not really playing the song.
They're not really.
They're not really playing the song.
But for me, that's what's the most important thing, is that when I'm playing music with kids, that they get to experience the joy of the music, because sometimes kids can get turned off by the technicalities of actually learning an instrument such as guitar.
Sure.
And so it's better to just have them like rock out and have fun, because then once they feel how fun it is, then if they're inspired, they'll take the time to actually learn.
True.
And it hurts your fingers. You have to build up calluses. It's like frustrating to learn all the positions.
How many of these little children do you think have gone on from being influenced by you to pick up an instrument? I mean, like,
yeah, I hope they do. I'm trying to think. Actually, I do know one person who was my student as a preschool. That's Amy's daughter. Amy runs the Rock and Roll Playhouse, and that's how I met her, because I taught her daughter when she was 4.
Oh, wow.
And now her daughter is an incredible songwriter. She plays the bass. She plays the piano. She's a great singer, but mostly it's her songwriting that really stands out to me.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel like children have an innate ability to create in a songy way, in a storytelling way.
Yeah.
And it's the standard of teaching that kind of squelches that. And then people telling you, like, don't do that, wasting time, this and that. And I think that's terrible.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible. It is so important. Creative health and expression has become such a priority for me, especially going through cancer treatment in the past year, because I realized that, not expressing myself was part of what brought me to my illness. And then healing, creative expression was a huge part of my healing.
Yeah.
Huge, on a vibrational level, on a freedom level, massive. So I loved watching you perform storybooks to songs with the children.
Love that.
Paint that picture for everyone who's listening, because it's just so delicious.
I mean, it's like if you're ever in a room with children, all you got to do is combine music and images.
There you go.
And you got them. Everyone says, oh, kids have such a short attention span, but they really don't. You just have to find the right things that they're into. They all seem to really like my voice, I think, because I have kind of a softer, pretty, lulling voice.
She really turns
voice.
it on at the
show. Right, and I do turn it on in the show. And being expressive is really good with kids too. So like facial expressions and getting big and just having fun. And so I actually wish there were more books like this where. Actually, well, maybe I shouldn't say this on the air because it's an idea that I have, but I don't want anyone to steal it. Anyway.
Hold it for later.
I'll hold it for
Strike
later.
that from the record.
I bet it's a great idea. I can feel it already.
Right. But in any case, there are some books out there that are just the illustrations of songs. So, the one we did, that was Pete the Cat, which I actually I just made it up. But, right. And that was a beautiful moment because I just improvised it because it's a book that has a rhythm. And I think there's a song that goes with it, but I never actually listened to the song. I just made up the rhythm because it was hip hop. I did my best at rapping it and improvising some vocals here and there. And then Kid Lucky was beatboxing. Paolo was on the keys.
Fantastic.
And the kids were just...
They were just, if you ever thought you had... Exactly. If you ever called your kid unruly, bring your kid to this moment, and this kid is sitting there gripped by what's happening and participating.
Well, it's one of our secret, like when we form a show, we do think it out because we have this also huge parachute that gets the kids really riled up and gets them running around and it's crazy. So then after the parachute, we're like, okay, if we need to bring it down, if we need to bring the energy back and focus it, we're like, all right, book time. And we have anything from like Octopus's Garden to What a Wonderful World, which is a beautifully illustrated book.
It's just such an incredible So tell me about the history of Rock and Roll Playhouse. Who founded it? How long it... Because I'm so impressed by the genres of music you guys cross over. I looked at your calendar. Future calendar has punk for kids, Grateful Dead for kids, rock and roll cartoon tunes. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. Right. We've really been all over the board because the idea was from Pete Shapiro. He's one of the owners of the Brooklyn Bowl and also Capitol Theater and publisher of Relics Magazine. He's big in the jam scene. He used to be a co-owner of Wetlands.
So
he gets it. So he has kids, and I actually taught his kids too. And that's how we all met.
Okay.
Yeah, and both him and Amy, who's the director of the program, just loved how I would just come in with my guitar and just play like folk songs or rock songs that I knew, Beatles, and it wasn't kids' music. It was just songs that I liked, and so Pete had this idea that, parents can enjoy this too. They can bring their kids, especially when you first have a kid and you're home and you don't have a lot of social options necessarily, and you definitely can't go to a concert,
With kids.
With kids. So then he thought, well,
of course.
if someone's playing at my venue, maybe I can invite them to play a daytime show for the parents, and they can bring their kids because they can't come at night. And that was one idea. So actually our very first workshop at Brooklyn Bowl was with Phil Lesh, the bassist of the Grateful Dead.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and so we did some Dead songs, and he brought his grandson, Levon.
These are some serious guests.
We started our program with a bang. We had some really big guests that Pete knew and invited, and we started out actually doing all the shows for charity as like just for kids, getting kids involved, doing music, and then we're like, well, wait, this is really going well, so let's try to do it more often. And then we started to do the every week, set it up. But as part of what we play is based on who's playing at the Bowl or at the Capitol Theater. Okay. So like we did a Wilco for kids up at the Cap when Wilco was there.
Of course.
So it's really a way to kind of promote the venues and who's coming, and if parents again want to go see the show but they don't want to get a babysitter, they come see. It's not really Wilco, but at least it's the music of Wilco.
You know what? The spirit of it it's perfect.
It's there. It's all
so
there.
Great. And when I walked in, I remember walking in and thinking, I'd never seen children in Brooklyn Bowl before. This is so very strange and cool, and I love it.
Yeah.
And the lights were dimmed, and the kids were
It's a rock concert for kids.
It's really
basically
so cool.
a rock concert for kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the Rock and Roll Playhouse descriptor because I just love it. The Rock and Roll Playhouse workshops are a unique, interactive, and educational live music experience for children set in the remarkable Brooklyn Bowl venue. 60-minute workshops focus on specific eras, artists, and genres of music. During each fun-filled class, children will explore live music, movement, and collaborative creativity. Young talents will gain knowledge and develop their musical skills through laughter and imagination. We invite the whole family to join us and play as we aim to build creativity in children ages 7 years old and younger. What? I love that.
Yay.
It's incredible. So props to that. Clap, clap, clap.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, I mean, as far
program.
as music satisfaction in your lives, so what else do you do in the music world, in the music realm for yourselves?
Well, it's It's funny. I have a lot of friends who are not really like musical theater people, especially all my friends from back home in Connecticut. But musical theater has always been, well, not really always, and I guess that's why I thought of it when you had just mentioned it. I really got into musical theater when I was 13 because I saw a production a Fiddler on the Roof. A bunch of other 6th graders had done it, and I was like, this was the best thing I had ever seen. I'm like, oh my gosh,
wow.
Other people my age are telling stories like this. Like, this is crazy. I want to be able to do that. So my mom got me a CD, and I started listening to, like, Topol doing Tevye and all those things. And I just dove right into that whole world. And that, I guess learning more and more and being not only involved in stories but being able to tell the stories. Yeah, I think, and everything that I do, my favorite part about it and what I'm most interested in chasing after is our stories, the storytelling element, and we're surrounded by opportunities for that, I guess.
With storytelling and music, Trey and I are working on projects for storytelling and music. What is your feeling about storytelling and music, Trey?
Well, I think stories are really everywhere, and I think it's one of the best and most effective ways to get across information. And, the themes and the emotions and the, again, information that you pick up from stories stay with you.
Right.
And when it comes through music, it's so memorable. I remember when I was a kid, there's a song I heard called, that they taught us in choir called The Cat Came Back. And it's just like this really cute, you know the tune, right? The cat came back the very next day. The cat came back. I learned the song when I was like 7, and I will never forget it. And then we also had one about the 50 states for geography. It was 50 nifty United States from 13 original colonies.
And you were how old?
And I had to be like 6.
And you're how old now?
I'm 28 now.
So 22 years later.
So 22 years later, I still have that chorus. And, then once I started getting into hip-hop and stuff, started being able to memorize all the words and that. So I just think the stories, that come through music are really memorable. They really stay with us. And especially when you match them to images, and that's why musical theater is so important, because when you can build a space and a scene to
right.
kind of show that with the music, it's it really makes a big deal.
So the power of music, you can communicate an idea, but with music, it becomes more powerful.
Exactly.
So next time you
that was your musical theater right there.
Next time you want to quit your job.
There's some adage that says, when words fail, you sing, and when singing fails, you dance.
I love that.
I like that.
Hence
my new
Exactly.
tattoo.
You just saw Hamilton recently.
Hamilton
right?
was amazing. I just saw it the other day. Did you guys see Hamilton?
No, I want to.
So it's the new hotness right now.
I think it was the bomb. It was pretty incredible, actually, on every level, storytelling wise. Just the cast, just the stamina of performance. Let's talk musical theater for a sec. To be able to sing in that amount of power from your lungs for that long, and how do you remember everything? I'm always post chemo and my chemo brain thing. I'm always like, how do you remember?
You know what it is?
This stuff.
I used to direct musical theater, and it was.
This is great, Trey.
It would be so annoying because literally, you practice so much that it's just in every cell of your body. You're walking and singing the songs. You can't get them out of your head. You're dancing the dances.
Oh my goodness!
And I wasn't even acting. I was directing, so I didn't even have to memorize lines.
You dream it. You'd wake up.
You are
sneeze, and it would come out.
Yeah, it's like muscle memory. Your body just remembers. You just have to let go. It's an interesting trick of the mind because it is mental, and you have to practice. But then once you know it enough, you have to let go and almost turn your mind off and let your body take over.
Do you, as you were saying that, you made me think of people I know who are in Toastmasters. Do you think that speech memorization would be easier if they sang their speeches?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I had another idea. This one I will share on the radio. Because I don't know if I'm going to do it. And I think everyone should. If you're ever trying to learn a language, I was thinking I wanted to do a curriculum where it was taught through song, through music. Because that helped me learn Spanish, was listening to songs. Because you get the melody stuck in your head, and then you get the words stuck in your head. You get the whole phrase stuck in your head.
That's so brilliant.
And then you just, it's in it.
It's the only way I know the term la cucaracha.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. It's the only way. Yeah. But that's amazing. So I like to just encourage people to be more musical. And when I tell people to sing more and dance more, of course, oftentimes people say, I'm too shy. So what can you guys offer for people who are like, well, Devlin, she's like a professional, whatever. I can't sing. I'm scared. And people like that tend to be so talented. Yeah. There's so much in them.
Not only have I met so many people there are a lot. You always pick them out. You can always recognize them in the crowd, and you're just like, oh, you don't even know how great you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you kidding me? You need to be doing this. So I mentioned I really got into musical theater when I was 13. And what Devlin was talking about, how music really reinforces speech in different parts of your memory, made me think of this. So I'm 13 years old. I'm taking Shakespeare classes, and my Shakespeare director, his name was Louis. He says, "Hey, I've got some friends who are doing some musical theater. They're doing The King and I at University of New Haven. We're all going to join them if you want to do it." So me and like 4 other students, we all go do it. And Louis has had us all prepare Shakespeare monologues to audition for musical theater. And I have never been in musical theater ever.
Kind of scary.
The only exposure I had to it at this point was this. My mom bought me a CD for Christmas that was like various Broadway hits, a bunch of those, and I listened to them in the shower every single day. every single day. And that's my mom every single day for a few years. And so I go in there and I watch a bunch of kids. They're all very supportive, and one of the regulars will go up, they'll sing a song either with a CD or a cappella. Everyone's very supportive. They hoot and holler. They sit down. Another, and then one of our kids go. One of Louis' kids go, and I watch a friend of mine do a Shakespeare monologue, and they do it very well, but very dull response. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way this was meant for the musical theater room. I have never done this before, but I know that does not feel right. So then, a few more songs, they're all great. Then another Shakespeare. And so I watch as all my friends go up and do their Shakespeare, and then it's my turn. So I walk up in front of the room and look in front of everybody, and I swear I could not remember more than like a line and a half of whatever Shakespeare thing I had prepared. So very silent, I just put my head down and I walk to the back of the classroom and I go up to Louis, and he's just like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I didn't remember my monologue." And he said, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Don't worry, I have an idea." And this little 13-year-old kid tells Louis Burke, this Broadway director, he was super successful in South Africa, like this big guy. He's like, "What?" And I just see this, his face goes pale as I just walk back in front of everybody. And I just start, "Dear Lord, you made many, many poor people. I realize that it's no shame to be poor, but it's no great honor either." And I do the whole "if I were a rich man," the whole thing down to the the choreography and everything, because I had just seen this so many times. I probably hadn't even seen it that many times. It just raced through my head so many times. I loved it, and that's what activated me and motivated me. And once you start to find those things where there are a lot of different types of things that can be considered art or music or things like that, but by bringing in a different element and adding it to that's kind of where we start to become like really intrigued and enhanced and multidisciplinary, I guess.
That's the proof. That's
so
the proof
cool.
right there. You know
so
what?
Cool.
I love stories like this because that proves like the food that we eat gets into our cells.
Yeah.
So that kind of primary food that we ingest gets. That was like so in your cells, dude. That was like in your hair, in your brain cells, and everything. So I mean, I love that story so much. Now that is probably going to scare someone who's like, but I can't remember any of that. How do I do that? But like, if I were to, like, I definitely, I'm thinking of someone right now who just told me recently she wants to talk more and sing more, and she wants to perform. So someone was telling me she's shy and then saying, but I want to perform. There's something bubbling under there, right?
I think it's funny. Like, I used to consider myself sometimes shy. As soon as I would get on stage, not shy. Not a shy bone in my body. Like, I felt so
what would you suggest to this person?
I think the reason I was able to get over any shyness or stage fright was because I would throw myself fully into the song. Because I love music so much and I was so passionate about what I was doing that I would just kind of everything else around me would turn off, and I was just so inside the song.
Yeah.
And so that's like what Paolo was saying. It's like really about finding that thing that turns you on and that you love so much that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, and it doesn't matter even how you sound or what, because really what is going to come through is your passion for it.
Which is like what it sounded like for you. You embodied it.
And storytelling. And, you know, and what I would say to that person who's shy and thinks like, you know, maybe outside they don't really have a voice and things like that, singing and music, it doesn't matter what genre, orchestration, it doesn't matter. My favorite thing about music, especially when I was growing up, was that it allowed me to express myself in a way that I could never do with words, that I was too afraid to do with words. And also, if I was worried about something or something had happened in my life that I thought I was alone on, sometimes you hear that one song and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Like, that's not just me. And then all of a sudden, this song represents you more than something else, and you're able to sing that song or play that song and bring people in closer. And so already you start to use that as a device to kind of open yourself up.
I'm really starting to wonder now, all of these stars that we hear on the radio, I wonder how many of them started off thinking they were shy.
Yeah, right.
And then how many of them, you know, how many of them realize that they're really serving up nourishment for all these people? Did you ever think about that? That when you're performing for people and kids, that you're giving them something?
Yeah, I guess so. I think so. I definitely, at one point I was like in my late teens and early 20s, I was really like politically active. Like I would call myself an activist, you know, I would go to rallies and was involved in all these causes. And so it occurred to me like, whoa, this is a really cool way to get a message out too, is through music.
Okay.
And, you know, so I was like, wow, so that's something that I considered I wasn't really necessarily thinking about nourishment so much. It was more as like transmitting ideas and maybe having people think about things a little bit differently than they might have before and opening their minds a little bit. But now, obviously, I see it as nourishment, especially with kids. And I've worked with so many kids of all ages and adults too, and sharing music with them. I can see how much it benefits them.
I mean, I have brought music to hospice patients.
Right.
One of my hospice patients, she had a stroke, affected her right side, and hadn't moved for many, many weeks. When I played Frank Sinatra for her, she was dancing in her bed.
Right. Yeah.
You can't tell me music doesn't have an effect on people.
I lived with my grandma who was in her 90s when I was in music school, and I would bring over all of my musician friends to her apartment because she loved having young people around. And she would just sit there, and she would light up. And I was studying jazz, so I was singing these old standards that she used to know. And her face, it was just, she would really light up and come alive. And it was when she would always say, like, I just love having all these young people. Like, when are your friends coming over? Like, she just wanted more.
That feeling, and even the way you're describing it is just like that feeling of when someone cooks an amazing meal and presents it. That Thanksgiving dinner is like that awesome music situation. Like for me, it's the same sensations in my body. I don't know if it's any different for you guys, but like that full body sensation of and then the communal aspect of it.
Right.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah, so that's
beautiful.
one of the reasons I was always happy I was a musician. It was so I could play with other people. Well, both so I could play with other people and I could play by myself. Like how music can be anywhere and you can do it anywhere. You can, if you have hands and your legs, you can make percussion, stomp your feet, you can sing. You don't even really need anything, but you can also, it just gets better and better when you have instruments and friends and
I love that you're bringing that up because that's something that I like to tell people too, that music isn't just something you buy, it's something you make.
Yeah.
It's not just something from the iTunes store. It's something you make, just like food.
Yeah.
You can make your food. You can also buy your food from the outside.
Many different ingredients.
So many ingredients.
So
many ingredients. I mean, Trey, you're a music person too. You know the experience of creating and what goes into a song.
Yeah, especially music is such like a collaborative experience. Like as an art form, I think it's like the most collaborative experience. And so I think it's really healing in that way because we're such social beings,
Yeah.
And it's like those feelings of like when you're like really like deep in like a jam or a groove or something like that, and it's like you're kind of like feel like everyone else is like almost like you're one thing. It's
Yeah,
really,
and I would even take it beyond that, because not just the people playing, but the audience too.
Exactly.
It's like everyone that's in that room is participating, even if they're not necessarily playing an instrument.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, as an audience member, absolutely. Because music is like a meal consumption food. It's just... Oh, I'm so glad you guys are on the same wavelength. When I try to explain, sometimes I try to explain to like my mom my understanding of music, and I think she gets it, but at the same time, she still has such an older, like rigid sense of like, no, music is like hobby kind of stuff. But she's a singer too.
Right.
But just trying to get the language updated in her has been a little bit of a challenge.
A friend of mine, he's a phenomenal musician. He said to me, I guess he was a little, somewhat of a mentor to me, and he said to me once, he's just like, he was obsessed. He said, I wish other people could hear music the same way I did, like the same way he did. Because for all of us, I think there's, whether or not we can put words to it, there's that's some sort of a motivation as to why we create music, because music does something for us so personally that we're like, wow, I wish everybody could feel this way. I'm going to write something. I want to create something so that people know how amazing this feels. I just want to share something that's this good. I can't keep to myself.
Yeah.
There's a reason why music is found at really important events in our life, like weddings, funerals, but not births. Isn't that interesting?
Depends on
I
the
know.
birth.
Actually,
On
that's something
parents,
that
right?
I've... Another idea. Jeez, I'm just full of ideas today.
Brimming.
Always.
We're going to work on all those ideas. Well, I mean, we
Brimming.
got to close the show, but before we do, websites and how do we get in touch with you and listen to more of your work?
Oh, sure. Well, you can visit my website at paolocperez.com. But you can also check out my holistic health website at facebook.com/Lumi by Paolo, Lumi, short for luminescence.
Ooh, love that. Devlin?
So check out the Rock and Roll Playhouse. It's the rock and spelled out rollplayhouse.com. And that's been the website that I've been devoting most of my attention to lately. Although my band is called Serpent Skirt. Ooh, and we just released an EP actually. It's on Bandcamp, and we have a music video too. And it's we call it Witch Rock. It's two ladies, and it's kind of occult, but it's dark. But there's also a lot of light and beauty to it. So.
It's been so great talking to you guys about music. Thank you so much. And to everyone who's listening, come back for more Primary Food on Heritage Radio Network.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this program on heritageradionetwork.org. You can find all of our archived programs on our website or as podcasts in the iTunes Store by searching Heritage Radio Network. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at @heritage_radio. You can email us questions at any time at info@heritageradionetwork.org. Heritage Radio Network is a non-profit organization. To donate and become a member, visit our website today. Thanks for listening.
Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butts, get big or get out.
It's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize wow, this piece of legislation, all this money, it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.